It is my pleasure to welcome to the Bima now our community Shlichah Lior Zisser Yogev. Lior grew up in Givat Elah and Emek Yisrael in Detroit's Partnership Together region. And after meeting the Jewish community of Michigan at camp, she decided to get involved in Shlichut and Israel education. After finishing her army service as a combat soldier and a teacher, Lior worked in other Jewish summer camps and spent 2 years as a community Shlichah in Illinois, and even a summer as a Shlichah in Sydney, Australia. Lior has a bachelor's in education and political science, and a master's degree in public policy and management, both from Hebrew University, and a teaching certificate in civil studies. For the past 8 years, Lior worked for different ministries in the Israeli government in various roles. Lior is here with her husband Gil, a mechanical engineer, and her 2 daughters, Ziv and Rona. And of course, we know Lior. She's already become very much a part of the Shaarey Zedek family. She has inspired our minds and taught us. She's also spoken directly to our hearts, as right here on this Bima on October 9th, she announced the passing of her brother on October 7th. And Lior, we have very much been with you and your family these last 6 months, and we're grateful for all that you've done over these last many months to teach us, to inspire us, and to guide us through these difficult times. So it's now my pleasure to welcome to our Bima to share words of Torah with us, our community Shlichah Lior Zisser Yogev.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm glad and I'm honored to be here today. Thank you so much, Rabbi Starr and Rabbi Dallin, for inviting me to be a part of this special Shabbat service. So as Rabbi Starr said, I'm Lior Zisser Yogev. I'm the Jewish agency Shlichah for the Jewish community here in Detroit. I work for the Jewish Federation, and I see my role basically as being the Israel staff person for every Jewish institution or organization in the community. I do Israel programs and educational projects. And what I see, my main goal is to form a connection between the Jewish state and the Jewish people. But when I arrived here in August for a 3-year term as a shlichah, together with my husband and our 2 daughters, I did not expect my work here to take such a tragic turn. Following the war that broke out 2 months after we arrived in Michigan. No one could predict the horror that would destroy our worlds on October 7. In my worst nightmares, I never imagined that such a disaster would strike Israel, and that within this national disaster, that this disaster will hold a personal tragedy for me and my family. As you heard, my little brother Lior Zisser was killed in a battle against Hamas terrorists on that Black Shabbat. That was the last time I stood here on this Bima on October 9th as I shared the story of how he died with over 2,500 people from the community that came together to show their support in an incredible event of solidarity hosted here in Shaarey Zedek. It's been such a challenging time for my family and myself. It still is, to be honest. One of the hardest things I had to do was to come back to Michigan and continue my work here as a shlichah. I had to force myself to find meaning and satisfaction in my work when everything seemed so meaningless. When a war still rages in Israel's south and the northern border, rockets are still falling, soldiers are still losing their lives, and 134 Israeli hostages are still held captivity by terrorists in Gaza. How can I go on with my life, send my kids to school, wake up in the morning and go to work, celebrate the holiday of Purim or Pesach, when this is the reality in my homeland? I remind myself that I'm here on a mission to represent Israel and its people, which is especially significant in such difficult times. That I have a unique role here now as the shlichah from Israel, but also as Eli's sister, who carries the message of the tragic loss we experienced, and the duty we have to protect the citizens of Israel and the Jewish people. As I see it, I have 3 main goals during this time. It's to educate, to connect, and to support. To educate, for me, it means telling about my homeland, Israel, to bring the facts, the data, to expand the knowledge, to answer questions I have the answer for, and to ask together the questions that I don't. To tell the story for what it is, my story of my country and my community, and to create personal connections through this story. and blur the background noises and false narratives that are received when people are fed information mostly through the news and social media. To connect means to allow people to create a direct and unmediated connection with Israel and with Israelis, to bring them closer to Israel, but also to connect them to each other as a community. We are in a time when Jews around the world are intimidated and threatened for being Jews and standing for Israel. As a result of a war that was imposed on us, the Jews around the world have become target to anti-Semitism, hatred, and aggression. So the connection is not only to Israel, but also to each other, to come together as a community and strengthen each other in a time where the foundations are shaking under our feet. And to support means to express our solidarity, to take a stand behind the things we believe in, to support each other, to support Israel, to create the platform for the Jewish community here where they can feel that they belong to this Kehila Kedoshat, this special community, to be proud of their Jewish identity, in which Israel has an essential part. In the demonstration of public support, we are filled with pride and confidence and create a support system for ourselves as well. And that's what I've been trying to do since October 7th. This is what fills me with meaning and gives me the ability to continue functioning. Every activity we've done since this awful war started has attracted huge numbers of participants, people from different ends of the Jewish community, all denominations, age, and political opinions come to hear, to talk about Israel, to be together, to support and be supported, to know they're not alone. People are looking for it. It gives them hope. But unfortunately, when we stand together as a community and speak proudly about our Jewish identity and our connection to Israel, we also attract some unwanted attention. 2 weeks ago, I started teaching a course on public policy in Israel with JLearn. We selected the topic for this course back in September, and it had nothing to do with the war back then, but to my personal interest because I worked for the government for the past 8 years. But the wrong person with the wrong intentions snooped on our Federation website or on JLive, saw my name with the word Israel in the title, and decided to organize a pro-Palestinian protest in front of our office of the Jewish Federation. And so it turned out that the morning of the first class 2 weeks ago, as my 25 students, most of them older ladies, made their way to class, they were welcomed by about 15 young people wearing masks and keffiyehs, drumming and shouting to Free Palestine, waving Palestine flags, and holding signs saying that the Jewish Federation is supporting ethnic cleansing and that Lior Zisser Yogev, in particular, is complicit in genocide. You see, I became a celebrity. And despite the shock that these protesters came to the most personal place, my office, and used my name, I couldn't help but feel sorry for them, for those young people. It's the next generation who are looking for meaning. They want to fight for a cause they believe in. They think they're acting in the name of peace, justice, equality, and human life, when in fact, well, as I see it, they're expressing support for Hamas, a cruel terrorist organization that carried out the most murderous terror attack Israel has ever known, which puts Gazan citizens for whom it's responsible as human shields, that kidnapped over 250 hostages, not only Israelis, and still continues to torture 134 of them, still held in captivity for 175 days now. Hamas that still fires thousands of missiles targeting civilian populations, not caring who they hit. Is that what they are standing for when they're demonstrating in front of my office with a sign reading, "Palestine is a feminist issue"? I look at them and I wonder, what is right and what is wrong? What is true and what is false? What is good and what is bad? And how can we tell the difference? This question brings me to the holiday we celebrated this week. Now, I know what you're thinking. Purim was last week, but no. If your kids or grandkids go to Hillel Day School, then you know that Purim is a whole week of celebrations. It only ended yesterday when I had to dress my girls up in costumes for every single day of the week. So, yes, Purim. Wearing costumes is not the only great custom that we can do for as long as possible. There is another important mitzvah I think we should take and use again and again in this holiday, and that is drinking a lot of alcohol. Right? Who else needs a drink? The explanation for this lovely custom of getting drunk on Purim comes from Masechet Megillah, the tractate that explains the laws of reading the Megillah on Purim. And there it is written that Chayav Adam lishtot befurim ulishtaker ad shelo yeda lehavdil ben arur Haman lebaruch Mordechai. A person must drink on Purim and get drunk until they cannot tell the difference between cursed Haman and blessed Mordechai. Once a year, we Jews get a religious permit to drink until we don't know the difference between good and evil, between right and wrong. It's not a bad coping mechanism, especially in a time like this, when it seems like there are no answers, but mostly questions, and I, like many Israelis, am having a hard time finding reasons to be optimistic. But except for Purim, the rest of the year, we're expected to be aware, to uphold this moral truth, to know how to distinguish between right and wrong, between what is essential and what is trivial, what we should stand for and what we should resist. Those young people who protested in front of the Federation office, who defined themselves as Jewish, part of the Jewish community, I don't think they can distinguish between good and evil. They came to protest a philanthropic organization, one that raises donations for building and strengthening the Jewish community in Detroit, one that pursues the improvement of lives of Jews and non-Jews in Israel and around the world. Is this an organization that carries out ethnic cleansing? They protested against me, personally, who lost my brother on the first day of this dreadful war, who came here to be a part of this Jewish community, to teach, to do programs, to create personal connections. Am I an accomplice to genocide? What is right? What is wrong? I take a deep breath and try to answer this question by using a few tips from Megillat Esther. From Queen Esther, I learn of loyalty to our people. When Esther tells Achashverosh, King Achashverosh, אם מצאתי חן בעיניך המלך, ואם על המלך טוב, תיתן לי נפשי בשאלתי, ועמי בבקשתי. If I have found favor in your eyes, and if it pleases the king, grant me my life, this is my petition, and spare my people, this is my request. Esther acted in the face of danger with persuasion and diplomacy. She defended her people, remained loyal to them, remembered where she came from, the shared history we went through together as people, and the important values of sticking together in dangerous times. From Queen Vashti, yes, Vashti, who refused to attend the feast to display her beauty in front of the guests and ministers of Achashverosh, we can learn to remain faithful to our values, not to give up on our positions and beliefs. It required great courage from the young queen to oppose the king and know that there would be consequences. But that was the price she was willing to pay, not to give up, not to give in to external dictates, and not to forget who she is, even when the world demands otherwise. And from Mordechai, we can learn to use the power given to us. When he tells Esther to speak with the king and convince him to spare the Jews, he tells her, Mi yodea im le'et kazot hegat lamalchut, and who knows, maybe you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Who knows, maybe we all came to our royal positions for such a time as this. We have the ability, we have influence, friends, family, people we know and love. We have a way to speak up, to share the story, to tell the truth. This is my petition. This is my request. But there is one thing I really don't want us to take from the Purim story, and that is not to hide our identity, not to be ashamed of who we are. לא הגידה אסתר את עמה ומולדתה כי מרדכי ציווה עליה אשר לא תגיד. Esther did not reveal her nationality and family background because Mordechai has forbidden her to do so. She doesn't tell the king that she is Jewish until a very late stage because she's afraid, she feels threatened. We need to remind ourselves that we are no longer the persecuted Jewish minority. This is a different time. Faced with haters holding signs, we will stand proud. As Jews, as Zionists, we're a strong and resilient community. We support a strong state of Israel and pray for a better future for the country and her people. And they cannot take that away from us. Toda rabba. Shabbat shalom.